Hello everyone, Christian Ryan here, and I have a bit of an update from the last part of my Barney's house video that I wanted to add because of something I recently discovered, which came after I made the video, and honestly I just wanted to give this video update so I can kind of correct myself there. You see, basically, when I made that Barney's house video part 4, I talked about some fan theories I had about the franchise in general, with the first fan theory being, is Barney really imaginary? Seeing how sure the theme song goes, Barney is a dinosaur from our imagination, and how the end of the theme song goes, Barney can be your friend too if you just make believe him. But I was a little confused on that part because of some things that was like established with the Barney character. Like, even if Barney's kind of imaginary, how come everything feels so real to the kids? Especially because of the fact that Barney can be seen by most of the adults in the TV series. Not to mention, we don't even see the kids is sort of like miming like they're holding the Barney doll or whatever to try to make it seem like they're moving Barney around, even if we can't see the Barney doll and we just see Barney moving with them because he's no longer in his doll form. Which also doesn't explain why Barney appears in like random places after he turns back into a doll, which is usually in the current area the kids are in, even if that's where the Barney doll wasn't at the beginning of the episode. Like, say he's on the tire swing, but then he moves over to the tree stump, or say he's on the tree stump, but then moves over to the tire swing, see? So you can imagine why that would make me create that fan theory about if Barney's imaginary or not, especially because most of the time, whenever Barney says the kids did something with their imagination, he's usually right there just kind of doing the magic by doing the hand movements and whatever. It's shown in like multiple episodes and home videos, so it's like, that's honestly Barney magic. I mean, they even acknowledge it in the home video Sing and Dance with Barney.
Now, are all my campers ready?
Ready!
Well, let's go camping!
That's weird. Nothing happened.
Maybe something special did happen.
I mean, something did actually happen as Barney made a tent appear in the schoolyard and they were in the treehouse, so they had to go downstairs in order to, like, see that. But the main important thing here is that usually most of the time it feels like Barney's real, even though according to the theme song and some of the kids, he's technically supposed to be their imaginary friend. Especially since that was established in some of the Barney in the Backyard Gang home videos whenever they would try to hide Barney from the parents. But, basically, that was until today, the recording of this video, where I came across an Instagram post made by someone named Jared Robinson, who is part of the Barney fan community, is honestly an amazing person. He does great art, he shows a lot of care and respect for the Barney franchise because he's a big fan, and honestly, he's a straight-up pretty cool guy. But, you see, the post he made was because he said he was sick of people missing the main plot point of the Barney TV series, of the fact that Barney's technically supposed to be imaginary. So after doing a bit of research he officially made a post of Barney lore, which actually establishes that Barney's supposed to be both imaginary and real at the same time. Now that might sound confusing, but he explains it on the post, and honestly after reading it, I was like, okay, that makes sense. And now I feel foolish for not waiting until the video was like done until that post was uploaded. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have never made that Barney fan theory about him being imaginary or real in the first place. So I was wondering what he could do, and Jared gave me the idea that I could make like a follow-up video to kind of like correct myself, and he deserves the credit for that idea because that is genius. And I'm also giving him the credit for like making the post so I can discover that I was pretty much wrong about the whole Barney being not being imaginary or not thing. And not only that, but he deserves the credit for like basically everything for why this video even exists in the first place. So thank you, Jared. You really helped a lot with giving me ideas, and you deserve the credit for them. So anyway, I'm just gonna explain to you what Jared said in the post. That way, hey, I can kind of spread Jared's word about Barney being both imaginary and real, so we can finally put this to rest and not question it any longer. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. So, Jared's first clue as to Barney being imaginary but also being real is, of course, the theme song lyrics that says Barney's from your imagination and you can make believe him. But he also says there's more to that, because he also says once Barney is imagined to life, he does become real and tangible, which is pretty much how Barney is able to interact with the adults too, besides the kids. And apparently Barney himself even knows that he's imaginary, and he becomes real when someone uses their imagination. Both of those are explained by Barney himself in a 1992 book about him called Just Imagine, where a little girl named Lori is pretty much using her imagination for the first time to bring Barney to life and is kind of surprised by it, as Barney tries to help her see that if she uses her imagination, maybe she won't be so worried about moving away from the farm to the big city. And Jared even found a comment made by Stephen White, one of the main Barney writers from the original series, who also says that Barney's both imaginary and real at the same time, which he used as evidence when making the Instagram posts. Because Stephen used his original script for Barney's Great Adventure the movie as a good reference for that, since he tried to explain how all that works for Barney in the original script, even though it was kind of changed in the movie along with some other things that he wasn't happy about. But he still uses the initial idea that he had for the movie as a good reference for it.
Look, pal, real dinosaurs don't talk, and real dinosaurs don't laugh. There aren't any real dinosaurs anymore.
Oh, well, I'm as real as your imagination. And that's something that's
Yeah, but that doesn't explain.
Cody, you don't have to explain.
So he says, and I quote, although Cody wanted an explanation, Abby, he was right. All he really needed to do was believe his own eyes. Marcella and Abby provided the imagination to make Barney large, after which anyone could see him, imagination or not. Barney isn't imaginary, quote-unquote. He's real and tangible once imagination has been used to bring him to life. Cody could see him, adults in town could see him, parents and grandparents could see him if they were in the same space. Again, someone needs to use imagination to bring Barney to life, but no one else needs imagination to see him or interact with him when he's big. So with all of that research put into mind by Jared Robinson, and even how Stephen White himself confirmed that Barney's both real and imaginary, I guess the shorter answer is that the online theories about Barney being a dark, cryptic character, or just questioning how Barney's able to exist if he's supposed to be imaginary, are false, because as the real answer is that he's both real and imaginary. Jared, when making the post, even said it best by saying he's basically the imaginary friend. When Barney comes to play through someone using their imagination, he becomes real. He's what all kids want to show to someone who can't see their special friend. He's real, but he also isn't, and he knows he isn't real. He's in the middle. He is real as you imagine him to be, which pretty much explains why the Barney doll is in random places after he turns back into a doll, because the kids use their imaginations to bring him to life, so when he's big, he technically has free will to move. And how he's able to do magnificent things that sometimes even the adults can see, because the kids' imaginations might be fueling Barney's magic. And how Barney can pretty much own a house, because even on the official Barney wiki, it says the location of Barney's house is in your imagination. So, in the end, my fan theory about if Barney's real or not has technically been solved and was pretty unnecessary to add into the video in the first place. So that's one fan theory solved, but there's still 3 others and presumably more to go. But at least the mystery for what Barney is a case that can finally be closed, and we can all rest easy finally knowing if Barney's imaginary or not, because, in short, he's both. But even though we finally figured out if Barney's real or not, that does make me question about BJ, Baby Pop, and Riff. Because, honestly, apart from some trivia facts from, like, unused Barney concepts that says they might be imaginary, and how they use their imaginations to go home whenever they magically disappear into sparkles, basically, this does make me wonder if they're both real and imaginary, just like Barney, or if there's something different, because there are several times where the dinosaurs just appear by themselves without the kids, so technically there's no one there to imagine them into existence. And not only that, but basically the little dinosaurs aren't as magical as Barney. I mean, there's a slight chance Riff might be almost as magical as Barney, seeing how the top of his head can magically light up whenever he feels tons of emotions. But other than that, basically BJ, Baby Bop, and Riff aren't as magical as Barney, because they're not toys who come to life by the power of imagination. They don't turn into toys, like, at all whatsoever, so they have no doll form. And not only that, but they don't have the same magical imagination powers as Barney, where they can change outfits, or make stuff appear out of thin air, or make stuff disappear, or teleport people to a different place, just like Barney does in the TV series. So it is making me genuinely curious. And if BJ, Baby Bop, and Riff are just like Barney, where they're both imaginary and real, then that does make me wonder, why is Barney always the first one to appear before the little dinosaurs? Because I know Barney's the main character, and we always expect him to magically come to life by the power of imagination whenever the kids want him to. But at the same time, it's like, what if the kids might want to play with BJ and Baby Bop first before Barney magically appears? And not only that, but what if they decide to play with BJ and Baby Bop and they might need Barney, so the kids would have to make Barney magically appear if they weren't already playing with him and he was still a toy? Especially because I've always wanted to see BJ and Baby Bop be around whenever Barney magically comes to life, because pretty much BJ and Baby Bop almost have the same important role as the kids in the series by being the characters who also learn the lesson whenever they need to learn a lesson, just like the human kids. Which is why I feel like they deserve to have the same respect that the kids do, because they have the privilege to see Barney come to life thanks to their imaginations, yet BJ and Baby Bop don't get to see that for some reason. And the only time that they've ever come close to that was in a Season 3 episode, which is why that episode for one of those moments is one of my favorite Season 3 episodes to begin with. And that's one of the reasons why I appreciate Barney Live World Toy Celebration. Because sure, even though there are some weird moments in that show, and sometimes it doesn't feel entirely like Barney, despite some of its good points, like bringing back some of the classic songs that haven't been heard in a while, basically, there's this moment in the show where they're supposed to bring Barney to life so he can open up a package Riff sent him, but even though they used their imaginations to bring Barney to life, they instead brought BJ to appear BJ appeared instead of Barney, which means that apparently in order to make Barney appear, they need to make a bigger wish. So even though the logic is still a little bit flimsy, like how a bigger wish will equal a bigger dinosaur like Barney, basically, I do like the idea they had there. Like, it shouldn't always be Barney who appears first, because even though he might be the main character, it's like, give the other dinosaurs a chance to see Barney magically come to life too. Sure, I might only be saying this because the dinosaurs are my favorite part of the show, especially because I love costumed characters, but I still stand by that. But either way, I'm probably just overthinking things again like I was with Barney, so I'm just gonna leave that alone for now, especially because if we ever do get an answer to that, that's a mystery for another day. So I would like to give a special thanks and a shout out to Jared Robinson, because if it wasn't for him making a post and opening my eyes as to what Barney is, this video would have not been real in the first place, and I would have still tried to figure out if he was real or not. So Jared, if you're watching this, thank you for making that post, because you really opened my eyes. And with that in mind, I would like to close this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!